know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Buku signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things, don't even have a deal, yeah, I battle through these.
Welcome back, everyone, to the newest edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy Jan Ludis, and we got something incredible planned for you guys today. You've seen these two before, but this is the first Once a Week we've had two special guests on at the same time. We got Tyler Brondyk, the leader of the Guys Like Us crew, and then just came up here from South Carolina, Pastor Daniel Brown. And I said this before, he came up here particularly for this video. He's got family here, but I think we all know it's for the Once a Week episode right now. So guys, I thank you so much for being here. I think we got something great in store for you guys today. Prior to us filming this video, we sat down and we talked for about an hour to what would be the most powerful message to bring to you guys. And we got on the topic of where the world is today. We've got the protests going on. We've got the coronavirus. We've got crises going on, just attacking everyone mentally, spiritually, financially, in whatever way possible. So when we got together, we put down so many different ideas, and we wanted to do it differently with you. We've done videos in the past on your mental ability. We've done videos in the past on meditation. We've done videos in the past on just what people bring to the table and what their message is. But we haven't done a video directly related to your spirit, your faith for that matter. And if you're someone that doesn't have faith, I still want you to stick with this video because we're going to come at very different angles, but ones that may resonate with you right now. So tune into this video, guys. Stick with us because we've got something powerful here that may affect you in exactly the way that you've been needing throughout the entire quarantine, throughout your entire life. Let's run with it. So guys, prior to us filming, we got into so many different topics, like I said, and deception was one of them, right? So let's start there. You know, there's so many different situations in the world, and we don't know where to look. Everyone that you see on the news, everyone that you see on social media has their own perspective. They have their own followers. Who knows what's right? Who knows what's wrong for that matter? What do you guys think?
I just think that the deception level that's going on right now is really heavy. Just as far as there's a lot of things being said from different avenues, different people, different groups, and a lot of it's not coming from a truthful place.
Yeah.
And not just that, but I believe that the deception really starts with not just the truth aspect, but people not really looking any further into what's being said to them. So they're being easily deceived because they're not digging deeper. Yeah. Everything's being kind of taken at a face value.
Face value, yeah.
It's like you tell me that the sky is red outside, and I don't take a look for myself and see that it's actually blue.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of issues that we're dealing with, it would be taken on a lot differently, and people would have a different reaction or response because they just kind of took the time to get more understanding. There's nothing wrong with, you know, listening to what people are saying or trying to gain a perspective of what they're trying to show you, but I think the most important thing is getting understanding from behind everything. And then from a spiritual aspect, if you are being led by God to get that understanding and what's going on right now, it'll be a lot less alarming, because I think right now a lot of people are going through the stress of what's happening right now, and it seems alarming, but you know, leaning back on God is my advice that I would give to everybody. Like, whether you believe in him or not, he is there to help you and to lean on right now more than ever.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Tyler?
Yeah, a lot of thoughts. Yes. So I think one thing is, that we're hinting at is foundation. And so when your foundation gets kind of when it gets knocked around, when the roots are tethered, and you're trying to grip onto something, and what you've gripped onto in the past is not working anymore, you look for something new that can fulfill that need that you have, right? And I think a lot of times, so psychologically, it's this association concept. So it's like you see something that maybe happened to you in the past, or you saw an event that happened, right? You saw someone that wasn't wearing a mask a while ago, and you saw that this could result in something. And so when you see someone else that's not wearing it, this association, this image pops into your head of what that means to you, right? It creates meaning, and it creates maybe a frustration and anger, and you have a certain response to it, right? And that's fine, because we have to acknowledge that we have that as humans. We have impulses, we have reactions, but I think this deception piece that we're coming to is taking a step back and acknowledging that. And knowing that this is something that is real, but it's not always the way forward. And it's not always true. And so, like, wherever you are right now, I just encourage you just to take a deep breath. And just slow down and just start to take things in from a little bit of a, I'd say, more reflective. I think there's some components that are more reflective, and there's some components that are more common sense. And I think I'm personally, I'll give you a personal story, and then we can kind of break some things down. But at least social media for me is a big landing point. And so I found myself, like, on my phone, you have your social media, and then you have, like, I have an iPhone, you scroll over and you have the Apple News, right? And I found myself, like, over the past few months, like, my mood, my emotions would change on every single post I would look at. And I'm asking myself, is this healthy? Right? Like, if I believe that, like, that my emotional and my well-being matters, and if that matters to God, then, like, is this something that I should maybe put some boundaries on or some restrictions on, right? And so I found myself making some small changes, really, that I think have had massive impacts on my daily physical, spiritual, emotional well-being, which ultimately it's all holistic, it's all integrated, right? And it's like, when something over here isn't working, guess what? This is gonna impact you over here, right? Like, we were talking about this example of deception of, like, I'm sure people listening have heard this before. People wearing masks in the car, right? Like, with no one else around. It's like, man, like, what are you doing? And it's like, but think about it. Like, if you keep that same mindset into other places that you go, like, don't you think it would maybe slip out in different ways that you might not even mean, but that either you've been kind of conditioned to think about, or that it just comes second nature to you now because you haven't been trained in a different way of thinking, a different way of viewing the world, right? And so I think those are some initial thoughts of how I think about deception.
No, I completely get that. And, you know, what you started that with was shaking up and the comfort zone and whatnot. And I think that's exactly where the world is today. And because we're getting shaken up with the protests, with the coronavirus, with, you know, everything that the government is, like, showing us on the news and whatnot, that's why people don't know where to turn. That's why people are shaken up. They've never done this before. They've never looked spiritually into something before, and they don't know how to handle it. And that's when lies can easily come at us. That's when deception can come at us. I said this, you know, Dan said this before the video. The idol aspect, you know, everyone's looking at different idols to how they can survive, to how they can live their life and whatnot. And I had the idea of, like, social media. And social media, depending on what you follow, and I hope you guys follow something great.
Like once a week.
You said it. But depending on what you follow, social media has a lot of lies out there. But when you come back to what Pastor Dan said with idols, aren't we our own idols now? You don't know who you click on Instagram anymore who has the truth. If they have 3 million followers, oh, that sounds like someone I should follow. Really? You know, someone with 10 followers could have, you know, God speaking directly through them, but they're not trying to publicly push their image. But since we're all trying to push our own image onto everyone else, we have now become our own idols which if you want to take it back to a biblical perspective, as Pastor Dan could definitely do for us, that's not the way to go, and that's a route that falls apart. But it all comes back to the lies that are just flooding the world right now. And it's sad, and it's really tripping us a lot up. And I think that's creating more crises.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It definitely is, man. And as you were talking, it just came to mind how, like, even just going a little bit deeper when it comes to idols, just trying to understand what idols are for people who may not understand what that is putting really anything before God, and kind of drawing a source from that and a need from that, and giving your time to it, and having that be the thing that you're directed towards. And in a time like this, I just kind of challenge everybody to think of what that may be, because I feel like, and it could be just me, I don't know who else may feel this way, but what I think that God is doing is kind of revealing to everyone what their idols may be in their life. And for some people, it could be money in their job.
Yeah.
How we rely on those things to always be there, but look at what's been going on.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people haven't been able to work, and I know that's a sensitive subject for some people, but like, I don't think any of these things are happening for no reason as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's allowing you to see, like, was I putting too much trust in the money I could make through my job?
Gotcha.
Or also, was I putting too much of my time and energy into certain things? Like, I don't know, like, I know we were talking about it earlier, but as far as not having sports,
Yeah.
like, this may not be everybody, but some people, like, religiously are into sports.
Oh yeah, right.
And I like my sports as well. Like, I love football.
Yeah.
But if you're not careful, that can be an idol as well.
Yeah.
For all the football lovers out there, I'm sorry, but if we're not doing these things in moderation, you can give too much of your time to it.
Yeah.
Like, and that goes for anything in your life. If you're not, kind of moderately doing all these things. And I think that a time like this has caused us to slow down and really look at what we're giving our time and attention to, what our energy is going towards, and how life may not have been as balanced as we wanted it to be. Like, with God, or with our family, or just with other aspects that are a lot more important than the normal daily routine that we've had. Like, I think things have caused us to slow down and look at it.
Yeah, which was needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what came to mind when you were speaking is a clean slate. And you think about it we'll start with the quarantine. When that started, people didn't know what to do because we were isolated, we were stuck in our homes. What if, in the grander scheme of things, that was meant to clean your slate, meant to clear those idols, meant to get you to focus on what was right? But if we're following the wrong things, we flood our time with other things. Like you said, with sports, with whatever you look at religiously, whether it is sports, whether it's video games, whatever it is under the sun. But when the quarantine hit, I can remember saying to life coaching clients that I have that just went through big traumas and struggles and they had to come out of it. And I would start every first session by saying, this is your clean slate. Let's start now. What if the quarantine was meant to be our clean slate from all of the not so great decisions and things we're following? And now that it's cleared, how are you going to start up again now that we're pretty much out of isolation, at least in our area, and we're getting back to kind of the way the world, to an extent, was going. But you think about it, if that's your clean slate, how do you start your life now? How do you start your life anew? And when you take this video for the faithful aspect, you can start your life in a whole brand new way that could lead you to a lot of things. And if you just take a little grain of salt from this, you can still run with that too. But I really think that this whole entire crisis situation is meant to clean the slates of a lot of people. And how we move out of that is going to determine where this world goes next. And we have a choice there. I think we all have a choice there. But the great thing is you have a choice to how you can change the world by changing your own life. And I'm not asking you followers to be the ones that change something in a giant protest. If you participate, phenomenal. Equality is incredible. But how do you change your immediate life? I could sit there and look at my clean slate of what do I want to add here? Do I want to add more time with God? Do I want to add more study time? Do I want to add reading? Do I want to add, I could go the other route. Maybe I want to add watching TV because I never do that. There's so many things that we fill our times with that we needed a clean slate. I said in numerous videos, a universal reset. And I think that's what this was all caused by, where the world needed to reset because we were all following so many random things that we need to fix it for that matter. And I think the quarantine's part of that plan. What's your thoughts, Tyler?
Yeah, I think you guys have hit on the head in terms of priorities.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such a great way to gauge kind of maybe an inner posture that you're taking.
Yeah.
And I think obviously we've been reorienting our priorities over these past few months, and I think we've had a lot of time to be at home, which I think has maybe been kind of a almost like a bed of certain, maybe doing something typically that we wouldn't have done in the past, right? So like the conditions are right for certain responses that we take in our personal lives because we are at home. We haven't had this human interaction maybe like we have in the past, right? Yeah. And as human, like we yearn to be in relationship, right? Yeah. First and foremost, to be in relationship with God, and then to be in relationship with others, right? Yeah. And so I think, like you talked about, like crisis moments, right? And like when hundreds of thousands of people are dying, or there's mass genocide, like really scary things, like that's crisis, right? And so, but at the same time, it's like we're being impacted, even if we're not, if we haven't been impacted by the recent events, right, in our world right now, like they're personally impacted at this moment, then like we're still feeling something inside of us, right? Like there's some deeper connection that we're yearning for, that we need to be fulfilled. And so it's revealing kind of what type of foundation, if we're looking to fall back and really lean into, or really just to make that foundation, like create that foundation for the first time. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that really questions how we put our trust, right? Because if our priorities dictate kind of how our trust is going, right? Trust it manifests itself into priorities. And so I mean I think about that, and I mean from a kind of looking at in the Bible, Jesus had his 12 disciples, and so like as the Son of God, like you can choose, like he could have chose to like speak in front of hundreds of thousands or massive crowds every single day to like get his word out, but he chose 12 disciples to speak, to feed into, and let them be the vessels, the seeds that then sprouted to the rest of the world, right? I mean, you think about the global impact that started from 12 people, I think is pretty crazy, right? So I think what the lesson I'm, at least one take I'm seeing of this is like looking deeper, looking under the surface in our relationships that are the most meaningful to us. Where do I maybe need to listen a little bit more? Going back to that reflective component and not falling into initial response or reaction. Maybe where do I need to speak into someone else in this time?
That's awesome.
That brings me to different points, man. While you were talking, it's almost like I don't even know where to begin, because
run with it wherever you want.
that was really good. Just in the simple fact that, like, one of the things that comes to mind is how in the Bible, and specifically in Proverbs chapter 3, it talks about how we have to trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not unto our own understanding. And it applies to right now, man. It really does, because whether you believe in God or not, it's definitely sound advice. Like, just like you were saying, what is your trust going into during this time? Like, I made a video like a few weeks back talking about this. Like, what is it that you're putting your faith in? Like, where's your faith going to? Because with everything that's going on, everyone, there's a crying out. Everyone wants to get something, whether it's justice, understanding, direction. Like, people don't know where to turn, and that just falls back on faith. What is your faith connected to? What are you? Everybody's looking to believe in something, something or someone, and I just ask everybody, like, what is that thing that you're looking to? You know, I could only hope that everyone would want to turn to God, but you know, that's just me like saying that. But you know, and that's what God wants. He wants, you know, everyone to lean into Him during this time when you don't understand what's going on, really. You know, and I know that we already talked about, like, with the deception that's going on to try to gain an understanding, and I think that a major avenue of doing so is coming to God. You have any?
No, I agree with that, and I wanted to add on that something that Pastor Dan said before we started the video that I had to make sure I made note of and wanted to bring up. Completely resonates with what you just said, because you said everything comes from something. Right? And so we need to understand what's going on, and then we need to understand that before we start to follow it. And I think, Tyler, at the time when we was talking about this, you had a lot to add to that discussion. But Dan, when you brought it up before we started filming, you explained that if you really dive into some of the stuff going on in the world today, the coronavirus, you can start with that, you can go with the protests going on. All that information on what's actually behind the scenes for that stuff is online. Not too many people are willing to go on that, find what's behind that, and are blindly following whatever pops up on the screen. Blindly following, I think, is one of the biggest things for deception that we can talk about, because that's what we all do. I can't say we all do it, but that's something that's so incredibly there. We can blindly follow whatever we want.
It's like there is things are put in a system, and if we're not careful, we can easily fall into that system. And what is the system? The system consists of so many different things. Just like how you were talking about the mask earlier, like, if you ask somebody right now, like, why they wear a mask, a lot of people don't really know. They'll say, you know, because this is what was instructed for me to do so. And it kind of ends there with a little bit of, oh yeah, it's supposed to keep us safe, but like, why? You know, like, if you keep like prying at it, like, you would find out that most people don't understand what's really going on. So it kind of just goes back to what we were talking about, like, getting to the root of things. I would advise everybody to kind of really get to the root of anything, really. Like, I think that we're always being tasked with not wanting to ask questions, or not, you know, being pushed to know more. Like, it's always frowned upon if you have a question, or if you aren't, you know, just going along with the order of things.
You go against it, people get upset.
Whenever you go against the grain and challenge something, people feel challenged. But my question is, why not challenge? Why not go against, you know, the norm? Why not ask questions and say, hey, what's this? Like, what's that? Like, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means that you kind of want to get down to the bottom of it.
Exactly. You know what? Why not? I like what you said. Why not push against the norm? You think about it. When you push against the norm, people do get challenged. People get upset and whatnot. But do you really know what the norm is? You know, we're told what is the norm. We're told to follow the norm. We're told to just blindly follow. Like we said, we're told to blindly follow whatever pops up on the screen or wherever you find it. But if you don't know what that is, you know, you have no idea what you just got yourself into. And there is a whole lot of information that if you really stayed up on that stuff, like, oh boy, what did I just get myself into, right? Tyler, what's your thoughts?
I have a lot of things kind of going on in my mind right now, and I think one is, I mean, I think one of the great things is that, like, we all have a voice, and we all have our ability to use our speech, right? And we have free speech, and we can use that. But I think sometimes there's there's beauty in saying things, and I think that sometimes there's beauty in not saying things.
Yeah.
And so like
that.
and I think you play different roles
Definitely.
in different situations too. And so I think
For sure.
kind of like relating it biblically is like Jesus would speak to people in different ways, right? Like some people would be healed on the spot. Some people it took a little bit more time to heal. Some people he spoke to and said and kind of called out, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
Some people he just moved in a different way.
Yeah.
Right? But at the end of the day, like the God in Christ works for restoration and reconciliation with humans, right? So like if you consider yourself a follower of Jesus or somebody who holds, I guess just considers themselves a Christian, like that type of restoration of union with yourself is like a deep fundamental like connection that like you then see the world completely different, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like there will always be injustice, there will always be evil and sin in this world, right? And so it's like you understand that, but you know who you are now as a new creation in God. And then when you start to understand how you are made in the image of God, you start to see other people like that, and you want that for them too, right? And so you start to approach things, and you try and approach things from a godly perspective of, I want to help restore this person to the path that God wants for them, right? And so I think if we can start to filter things through that lens, then we start to respond and lead through different events in whatever. I mean, this is just a day-to-day, right? Like this impacts everything. You know? I mean, not all at once, but like it's gonna start to change kind of radically how we start to do things. And I think that's one of the great, and taking an even further step back, for people who may kind of be questioning God or kind of who God is, like the God in Christ and the Holy Spirit is one that fundamentally seeks love. It's not like, I mean, when you look back historically, right? So I always try to have different lenses. I look historically, I look at the cultural moment of like, okay, what is this? How does this then impact this? How does the culture then impact this? I look at my theology, and I think about how this is connected. I look at other people, right? So I make this like very well reasoned, because I think reason has gotten us to a pretty decent place. And common sense too. And so like I think like for example, if you look at some of the other gods, right, who essentially become our idols, they look at the relationship between humans and the divine completely different, right? So it's like they are not out for your good because they are love. They look out as a place of greed. What can Baal get from you? Because the ultimate is just for greedy dominance in these gods, right? Whereas the God in Jesus is benevolence. So we lose an understanding of what benevolence looks like when we start to put up these false idols, right? And so again, it goes back, when you're grounded in an understanding of what this God looks like, you'll start to ask these questions. Okay, is this the path that I want to follow?
That's powerful.
About to get me started.
You want to run with it?
That was really good, because there's a lot that I resonate with what you said, man. Like, for example, the Bible says that it's the goodness of God that drives men to repentance, and that's the love factor of God. It's not this iron hammer that a lot of people think that's going to make people be drawn to God. You can't. That's just not how He operates. Yes, He's a God of judgment. Yes, He's a God of wrath. But that's not what He uses to pull people in. Like when Jesus knocks on the door of your heart, He's not going to do it through anger and a lot of what we see going on today. That's not the way. And like there's so many other ways, but Jesus is the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that is the only way that we'll be able to really get over a lot of the things that we're doing. Like, just like I was saying before, people are turning to a lot of different things, and that goes back to what you said, like with different idols and trying to figure out what can fill that void. And because that's what a lot of people are feeling right now, fair to say. They feel a void and an emptiness. A lot of people are hurt. A lot of people are confused. They don't understand why things have to be the way that they are. But the only thing that can fill those empty places is Jesus. Like, we can't try to put a filler in there and, you know, like, I don't want to go too deep into this, but like, when it comes to the protesting and all that stuff, like, you know, I'm not gonna say, you know, you shouldn't do it. It's cool, to each his own, but there's just certain ways to handle certain things.
Definitely.
Like what Tyler said, there's wisdom in when to speak and when not to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
There's wisdom in how to handle certain things and what angle to really take on with what's going on. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like Jesus would take and see moments like this in a completely different way. Like, not in a way that we think would work right now, but his approach would be so loving and just in a way where it would kind of shock the world. And our job as believers and Christians is to be a part of that in the earth right now. And that's really what God is looking for us to be the light in this world.
Definitely.
To be able to bring that and to do it in a way that people aren't expecting. Because people are expecting, especially for what's going on right now, people are expecting for there to be a clash or for there to be a submission, but it's not coming from the right place. You know what I'm saying? It's not coming from the right place of people's hearts. It's almost like a forced thing. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I understand the issues that are going on, but what is the motive behind it? Like, you can't force each other to bow, and like, that doesn't bring about reconciliation in any type of way.
No, that's awesome. That's powerful right there. It's one thing that stuck out to me the most when you say is we're called to be a light in this dark world. And, you know, everything we said today, guys, you look at the world and it's getting darker and darker by the day. And that could be a whole video on a completely different time. But you think about that. We want to be a light in the world. And then you come back to what Tyler just said with being able to take that godly perspective back. And whatever that means for you. If you're in a protest, try to look at how you can be the light in the protest from a godly perspective. Meaning, that's not yelling at someone. That's not like going over the top of something. And that's in a protestive perspective. But, you know, when both you guys are talking, I really started to think how I've tried to be a light in darker moments, but also tried to be a light in normal moments. I can think yesterday, July 4th or whatnot, I went to a July 4th party and whatnot, and I just tried to be there and just enjoy the moments. And just to see how that was able to impact people's lives there that I haven't seen in years. And they're all enjoying themselves too. In that moment, I was able to take a step back, you know, and think, how can I just enjoy the moment? That's being a light to someone that needed it in ways I didn't even comprehend. Now you look at that, trying to be a light in the dark. How can you guys be a light in the dark in whatever that means? We don't have to talk about coronavirus. We don't have to talk about protests. We don't have to talk about that aspect of the state of the world, but we can talk about the state of your specific world. You, your home, your family, your friends, whatever that means for you, your job for that matter, how can you be a light in that? How can you be a light to the next person next to you? As Tyler said, speak into someone's life. How can you be speaking to someone's life that may need it and you don't know they need it? But if you take that godly perspective back and just let it work, just wait. See how that light shines out of you into someone else's life, creating more light. And with the darkness that is creating, the world's getting darker, as I just said. How can you be a light to someone? How can you ignite someone else's match, ignite someone else's candle to create more light? And that's what the world needs now more than ever.
Right. Sorry, I just want to add one quick point.
Run with it.
I think I think that there's things that there's great joys and blessings that I reap today because of people who have been faithful in the generations in the past, right? You know what I'm saying? And and the work and the life that you live now is going to bless people for generations to come.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's, how can I leave from a place of abundance, of a place of joy, and be an instrument to then play the long game and see that there'll be some things, right? Like that might have some immediate impact, right? Like if I'm thinking about like maybe creating a hospital in Boston or in Roxbury and Dorchester for patients who are struggling right now, like, or if I want to sow into that, that's going to have some impact for generations to come. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, that is a way to actually to be from a place of abundance and of service and get a glimpse into how God views you.
Yep. Completely agree with that. Yeah. Do you want to run with it, or you want?
Yeah, I just think that was a great point, because that is exactly how you marry the spiritual with the practical. Exactly what you just said. Because oftentimes I know that some people think that we may, from our standpoint of being Christians, that we can get caught up in just a spiritual aspect, but there is a lot of practicality behind it too, because we're here in this earth we're living, and putting something behind that drive spiritually that we have, and putting it practical to set up people that come after us. That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Because the same thing was done for us. I just think that, there's just a lot of work that needs to be done, but we can definitely get there. We can definitely do it. We just gotta kind of not get caught up in everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think what you guys both, hit the nail on the head with has been something that I've noticed for the past 2 years. And what I've seen the post and whatnot, just I run through social media and whatnot, and then this post will continuously pop up telling me the prayers of your ancestors are being answered on you today. And everything that you guys just said, where you're setting up the next generation, Tyler with the hospital example and whatnot, like that's not just your immediate family, that's for everyone. But you think about it, and I want you guys to think about this just as much, whether you take a grain of salt from this video or whether you take the whole thing that we talked about, what you do today, as you know, resonates tomorrow, the next day, to your kids, and so on and so forth. But what you pray today is going to affect the next generation, and continue to affect the next generations after that if you put it into motion. And that's powerful right there, because that's so true. And I can feel the prayers being answered on me that my grandmother said to me, that her ancestors said to her and whatnot. And it's just a trickle-down effect. But when it gets to you, does the domino stop with you, or does it keep going and keep going and keep going? And that's your choice. And that's something we all have to make the choice for. And I think you guys got to run with that. But, we went over so many topics today, guys. I feel like we could talk for 3 straight hours.
Almost have.
Nah, we're at 2.5.
31 minutes and we're there.
Let's keep it going. But one thing I wanted to end on that, Tyler, you said within the first 3 minutes of this video, and I made a note of it because I knew this was going to come up. You said the phrase, "We need something new." And with everything that's going on in the world today, something new is needed, and we're always trying to look for something new. You guys got to dig into what is that something new. I think everything that we just went over today, whether you accept it from a faithful perspective or you just think on it from, maybe I'll give this faith a shot. And the world's changing to the point where that's just simply searching it on your phone. And if that's all you do, run with it. But do you need something new? And have you given an opportunity for something new that's always been knocking at the door your entire life, whether you knew it or not? is that I want to say something new, but at the same time, that's not new at all. Like, you know, that's been from the beginning of time. So it's like me saying something new. I'm like, it's not though. But I really think, guys, that if you're someone who's in a predicament right now where nothing's working, where you know, it's funny. I put at the end of every single video to reach out to me for life coaching and whatnot. I'm not the one that you got to reach out to. I think there's something new that everyone needs has always been there, and we've talked about so many times. That's Jesus, that's God, that's the Holy Spirit, that's always been there at your disposal. And probably even if you never prayed to him or whatever, he's still been helping you on your behalf. But if you're sitting there looking at the coronavirus, man, you're looking at the protests and you're just sitting there, where's the world going? What do you need to add to your daily life that will get you out of that perspective, out of that initial life point right there, and be able to walk confidently into the next day with that light shining bright as we just discussed a couple minutes ago? Before we end, what's your guys' thoughts on that?
I'll say this, that I don't want it to be taken wrongly, so I'll explain it. But if you're looking for the world, or anybody looking for the world to be at peace, it's not going to happen. And the reason why I say that is because the Bible talks about it. But it doesn't mean that you personally can't feel peace or a sense of peace.
Yeah.
And the way that you can feel that sense of peace is being in Jesus, is accepting him, is having him in your life. That is how you feel peace, because he is peace. So that just means that on a larger scale, the world won't necessarily be in that place of peace, but you will personally have the opportunity to feel that peace when you're in God.
Yeah.
And in him is peace, is rest, happiness, joy, all the things that in the world you don't see, but that is in God. And when you're in him, you will feel all those things. And then back to what Billy was saying, when you personally have those things, you could spread it to your immediate environment.
Yeah.
And that is how you create that environment of peace. It's not about what the whole world is, because the world isn't necessarily going to change, but you can change what's in your immediate world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What you got, Tyler?
I just affirm what you guys have been saying, and I think I just want to, I guess, bring it back full circle. And I think it's just it's time to take stock of where your heart is right now. And so I'd encourage folks who are listening to just kind of reflect on some of the recommendations, and it's nothing new.
Yep.
It's just kind of, as what we've been saying, but it's just repurposed, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And we're putting it in different language, because this is how we connect. This is how we connect through other people, right? And so, but to I think what's been really helpful for me, I'll give some practical tips, perhaps.
Definitely, run with it.
Is finding some solitude in my life, and I don't mean like isolation, like getting away, but like in like purposely like neglecting something, but actually like going to a place of quiet, right? Like for me, it's in the morning. It's the first hour, 30 minutes to an hour. For some of you, it might be 5-10 minutes. I like to kind of set something where I can have this block of time, and it's just quiet time. And it's trying to limit my distractions and really just slow down and kind of hear. I live in a pretty kind of woodsy area, and just I try and hear the birds, and just trying to even hear my own breath sometimes. And so really just slow down to hear, and I think that solitude has been super helpful. I think the other thing that's been helpful is setting some boundaries, and just some things that we're like, all right, maybe I'm prioritizing this a little bit too much. I think for people of our generation, I'm 27, and a lot of you are around the same age, right? People in our generation, and again, speaking generationally, of like the people that a lot of us will be connecting with are these Gen Z people, right? So people who are younger in their teens and maybe into early 20s now. And so we're going to have a lot more, I guess, impact on how they are going to be seeing their future. And so a lot of their time is spent on social media. And the statistics are pretty crazy. And it's again, all for technology brought a lot of great things into our lives, but sometimes setting some ways to help us keep our own health. So like I try and delete my Instagram app every day, and like I'll pop it up at like certain times, maybe once a day, or sometimes I take a week or 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
I just recently deleted, if I'm not using something, like I deleted Facebook. Not saying you have to delete it, but just some examples of ways that you can kind of set yourself so that you're finding a new pace, a new rhythm, right? Because we're absorbing things now, information at an incredibly high rate that our bodies are not meant to take in.
Definitely.
And I think this is one of the biggest spiritual enemies of our day now. And this is really start to grip a hold of our life, of our heart, of our soul, and just like really grab us.
Yeah.
And so to be proactive, right? This is being proactive, is taking some of those steps. And I really believe that you'll find some change in so many spheres of your life.
Yeah, I'll be reactive, be proactive.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Final thoughts, Pastor Dan, you got anything?
Just to wrap up what we all said, pretty much. I just encourage everybody to, if you feel after watching this video that you want to look for the more, man, just I encourage you to, if you've never gotten the chance before, to kind of look for that more that you may be looking for during this time. And you might be asking the question like, this can't be it. What you see around, the protests, the political issues, the virus, and even if you're afraid of everything that's going on, know that there is a God who is there, and He is real, and He is he's a person. Even though He's a spirit, He's a person though, and He cares.
Yeah.
He's a real person, meaning you can talk to Him, and if you listen, He'll talk back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I just want to leave that with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. I love it, guys. I love this entire talk today. I think we went really deep with a lot of things, but guys, I want you to be able to take something from that. I'm really hoping that you guys stuck to this entire video, and if you need to go back, because there's certain points right there that you really need to kind of clear up in your head, listen to this video again. We went really deep with a lot of topics. We wanted to. That was my goal with this video, was to create something powerful to affect you wherever you are. And everything that we said today, guys, is the truth. And everything that's said today, guys, is something that if you really need to kind of, as Pastor Dan just said, you need to kind of think on, or as Tyler just said, dedicate some more time to your priorities. Dedicate some more time to it. There's so much, as a tough of a place as the world is today, there's still so much love, and there's so much light, and there's so much peace to be had. And through everything we just talked about, there's a direction to go. But guys, I thank you for tuning in today. I want to leave you with where you can find these guys. Tyler, as I've mentioned in numerous videos before, he's got the Guys Like Us podcast that if you subscribe to, you're gonna see so many incredible messages, guys. He's interviewed some of the greatest authors, some incredible athletes, professional athletes for that matter, and just their perspective on faith and whatnot. But Tyler, you added something else to the whole fold of Guys Like Us. Do you want to explain that real quick?
Thanks for the introduction, Bill. Yeah. So I've been doing the Guys Like Us podcast now for 3 years, and so been typically putting out bi-monthly episodes, as you mentioned. But this summer, I've been taking a little bit of taking an additional step forward in faith for, I think, what we're yearning, and it's to dig a little bit deeper into some topics. And so I have conversations with some people on the first ones we've talked about is slowing down and rest, and so why rest is important. And again, how we look at it from a faith perspective, and then we'll be shifting into prayer too. And so these more topical questions around prayer.
Nice.
What does prayer look like? Yeah. How can we just have a more alive prayer life, and how that really activates us into completely different ways. We'll be looking into leadership too, and so some different aspects of leadership. And just a lot of these different topics that we're really breaking down and having some of these deeper conversations that are required in order to gain mastery of of a topic, which then kind of floods into your life.
That's awesome. Yeah. Guys, I recommend you guys check that out. It's very powerful. And then Pastor Dan actually just started his own YouTube channel, Take a Moment, correct?
Yes.
You want to give a little tidbit on that?
Really, I felt led to make that YouTube channel take a moment, and really all it is taking a moment to listen to the heart of God, because that is really what it's meant to be. It's not really geared towards my opinion or what I have to say, but I just kind of whatever I felt led or whatever I feel God wants to speak to people or what he wants me to get out there, that's kind of what I do. So it's called Take a Moment because in this busy life and in this world, we often don't take a moment to hear what God is trying to tell us because he's always speaking, but necessarily we're not always listening. So yeah, that's why I kind of took the time to create that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And guys, the cool thing about Take a Moment is it's not a full-blown, for all we know, this video is an hour right now. It's not a full hour video. Pastor Dan really goes at it with, 4 minutes or for all we know, 3 minutes, but he says it directly to the point, powerful. So it's not taking a huge moment out of your day, but you're taking a moment for yourself. You're taking a moment to really reflect on yourself, on God, and just where things are right now. So I'm going to put the links for all this stuff, guys, at the end of this video, but I thank you so much for tuning in today. Guys, I really appreciate the video. I thank you guys for being here. I think this is one of the most powerful discussions and powerful videos that Once a Week is put out, so I really appreciate you guys joining. Guys, like this video below, like this message, share it to someone that you feel this could resonate with. Share it to someone who's on your mind right now. Share it to someone who you feel could really learn something from this, guys. I really recommend that. We want this message to spread to people because there's so much power in it. And lastly, guys, hit that subscribe button below. We want to get that number up. We want to spread this message and all the other messages to more people to help them because there are so many people being affected right now. And lastly, guys, if you or someone you know is struggling with whatever's going on in life and you need someone there for you, a life coach, go to billygLifecoaching.com and I'll be right there for you. Again, thank you for being here, guys.
Yeah,
awesome.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Have a good one, guys.
Take care.